Kehata charya agyay, kehata svatantra, Shramata kalpana kore daiva paratantra. Kehata, some, acharya, the spiritual master, agyaya, upon his order. Kehata, some, svatantra, independently. Svamata, their own opinions. Kalpana kore, they concoct. Daiva paratantra, under the spell of Maya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Some of the disciples strictly accepted the orders of the Acharya, and others deviated, independently concocting their own opinions under the spell of Daivi Maya. Please repeat. Some of the disciples strictly accepted the orders of the Acharya, and others deviated, independently concocting their own opinions under the spell of Daivi Maya. Purport. This verse describes the beginning of a schism. When disciples do not stick to the principle of accepting the order of their spiritual master, immediately there are two opinions. Any opinion different from the opinion of the spiritual master is useless. One cannot infiltrate materially concocted ideas into spiritual advancement. That is deviation. There is no scope for adjusting spiritual advancement to material ideas. Text 10. Acharya mata ye she mata sar, tanra agya langhi chole she tar asar. The order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Anyone who disobeys the order of the spiritual master immediately becomes useless. Purport. Here is the opinion of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Persons who strictly follow the orders of the spiritual master are useful in executing the will of the Supreme, whereas persons who deviate from the strict order of the spiritual master are useless. Text 11. Asaryara name iha nahi prayojana bheda jani bare kore ekatra ganana. There is no need to name those who are useless. I have mentioned them only to distinguish them from the useful devotees. Om jnana timidandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. So, a few points here that would be pertinent to mention and discuss. So very important verses. The first is to note that if we compare the Caitanya Caritamrita in this verse to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives the lineages of great kings past, we can see that in those list of lineages, it gives the king, then it gives his son, he was king, then his son was king, his son was king. So this is a lineage of birth, by birth. So somebody took birth in that family, then they were the king. They had the right to be the king. And we know even in today's, right to today's world, the children in succession law, the children naturally have the first claim to the the wealth of the parents, the material wealth. So this verse is contrasting and is giving us a very insight into the difference between that and the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that it is not a lineage of birth. It is not that by taking birth in a certain family that one automatically becomes part of the movement of Lord Chaitanya, because we can see here that Sri Advaitacharya himself was described as the incarnation of Mahavishnu. So he's no different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a full incarnation of God himself. That to show us and to instruct the souls, he is having this pastime, that he had 6 children, and it's described here that 3 of those children became followers of Lord Chaitanya. 3 of them took up spiritual life very strictly, very enthusiastically, but 3 didn't. 3 didn't. So there's a lot of things to tease out of this, to see what does this mean. And the first point that we've already mentioned is for people who weren't born in a family of followers of Lord Chaitanya, there's no bar to being a devotee. There's no bar to being a devotee, because it's not a matter. Krishnadas Kaviraj doesn't say here, oh, there were 3 people in the village that weren't born from Advaitacharya, and they weren't devotees, and the 3 that were, they were devotees because they were born from Advaitacharya. No, he's pointing out, and he doesn't have to point this out, but he does. He takes the trouble to point out that of the six children, 3 of them were very dedicated and really joined the movement. And so this is for people who are not born in the movement. There's no bar. It doesn't mean you're born or not born. Haridas Thakur, he was not born even in the Vedic culture, even in the Hindu culture, but he's accepted as the Namacharya, the perfect example of how to follow and chant. And the other point is for children who are born in the movement, to see this point, and I think as Gurudev has said this point many times in Yudhima Swami, that actually I remember when Radhi, what's Radhi's initiated now? Radhika Charnarayana. Next level, right? She's Radhi now, she's right. So I think I remember on that class, we had the class, and Gurudev was giving the class, and he made this comment. He said, "It's so nice when children who were born in the movement actually join the movement and take up the spiritual practices strongly." You know, he made that comment. So for those who are, this is another little lesson for those of us or those who are very fortunate to be born in the movement. We still have to join the movement. we still have to actually practice. If you know, to gain the result, Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying here, these 3 sons of Advaitacharya, just by being born in the movement, it wasn't enough. They were noted the difference between these 3 and the 3 who were practicing. They were practicing spiritual life. They were serving the Lord. They were chanting, they were following the process of spiritual life. Another little thing we can glean from that is for parents. For parents. So if Advaitacharya, only half his children became devotees. You know? So for parents as well, we can think, wow, Advaitacharya, 3 out of the 6 became really enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness, and 3 didn't really. Then there's another little lesson for parents that, we have to do our best, and we try. We bring the children to the temple. We make sure the house, there's kirtan going on in the house. There's lectures. And there's no excuse nowadays. We have YouTube is saturated with Vrindavan TV, Mayapur TV, so many classes. Like you could literally sit there all day and just listen to classes and lectures and seminars and kirtans. You can buy a big TV, buy a huge TV. We're saying yes, buy the TV, but yukta vairagya, engage it. You can have in your house now. Now this we couldn't say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. But we couldn't. We had the little cassettes, Prabhupada cassettes and things. But now you can just have it right there, and the kids are walking around. Oh, there's a deity. Oh, isn't that deity beautiful? Oh, wow, they're chanting, and they start dancing, and so there's so many facilities. So for parents, we have to do our best. We have to try our best. We have to do everything we can to help the children, to give them the chance to have this Hare Krishna mantra, to have this spiritual sound vibration from a young age. But at the end of the day, we also have to be a little bit detached, right? We have to be a little bit detached and say, Advaita Acharya, he did his best, but him, the Lord himself, 3 of his kids were and 3 weren't. And actually, sometimes it's seen that when parents are too much that, this is, if you're not a Hare Krishna, then you're useless, you're what's the use of you or something, that actually drives the kids away. It actually drives the kids away, right? We've seen that, and I have heard that from people who were born in families. If the parents didn't have a little bit of detachment, that I love you anyway. I love all of you on a material level, just as a parent, just what a normal parent would give a child. I love you, you have my support, yes. If they take up Krishna consciousness very seriously, fantastic. If they don't, that's their independence, right? Every soul has their independence. Every soul has their independence to do what they want to do. So there's lots of lessons if we meditate on these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything is there for us. Everything of how we should think about things. We just have to have Shastra Chakshus. We think, oh, my kids, we think, okay, what happened to Advaita Acharya? What happened to this parent? How did Srila Prabhupada act with his children? Did the best he could? But he put his spiritual service, and he had, as he said, so many thousands of children later. So many lessons are there. Another point, looking at just this point about if someone doesn't, follow the order of the spiritual master, they're useless. This seems a very kind of a heavy statement. It is a heavy statement. It's a heavy statement. And this may bring up feelings in someone that, oh, this sounds like some kind of like a dictatorship or something, right? Isn't it? When we hear those words, especially coming from a Western country with this sort of liberal, so-called liberal democracies, 723, 143. Yeah, it's still fine. Sorry. We're giving bridge updates during the Bhagavatam classes. So when we hear this, that if you don't follow the authority, you're out, you're useless, then that's very, we think, whoa, that's really intense. Especially people nowadays don't have. There's a very sort of anti-authoritarian view in the whole world, and fair enough, to be honest, because so many authorities have let down their people. If you look at the religious authorities in the big churches and the political leaders now, they can't keep the same leader. 6 leaders in 4 years, and in Australia and England it's going on. They can't even just figure out, just let someone do the job and let everyone get on with their life. So the quality of the leadership is so poor, therefore people have lost the faith in the leadership, in the principle of leadership, right? So we have to be able to see beyond that sort of visceral emotional reaction to this idea of if you don't follow the leader, you're useless, and try to understand what it means on a spiritual level. And there's two aspects to this. The first is that for any spiritual path, the science itself, the principles of the science itself are absolute. Just like in medicine, there's certain absolute principles. Like if someone is, I'm not a doctor, so I probably won't give a great example, but if someone has a fever and this is happening, if you give them this drug that can increase the fever, then that's really bad for them. They're just certain absolute things. So there's a certain, when it comes to spiritual life, when it comes to religious or spiritual matters, there's certain absolute truths. If you associate with things that are in the mode of ignorance, if you associate with alcohol and meat and intoxication, and things that confuse and cover the consciousness to a high degree, it will block your ability to have higher emotion, to have higher sentiment, to even want to do good for other people. What to speak of understand the Lord and the Shuddha-sattva. So this is an absolute principle. So if someone goes against that and says, "Oh, well, I can be spiritual, and at the same time I can, take the mode of ignorance in," then it's a deviation. It's not a matter of opinion, or it's not a matter of, "Oh, that's okay, you like that, so that's fine." It's just an absolute interaction. It's not on a level of emotion, it's just a level of logic. If you drive down the highway on the wrong side, on the right-hand side, you're going to hit someone. It's going to be bad. It's not going to be good. So there's certain things, and on this level, if someone goes against that, against the order of the spiritual master, on the absolute level, and it doesn't matter what religion or spiritual process they're in, if they do things that are in ignorance, they do things that are harmful to other living entities, if they become violent, that's going against developing spiritual consciousness, rising to the mode of goodness and getting free from matter. Right? That's the first point. The second point is, when it comes to bhakti yoga, this is even more, has another level to it. It has it has a further importance to it. And that is that if your goal is to give up your material identity, to either merge into nothingness, Buddhism, or to give up your identity and merge into the existence of God, impersonal Hinduism, if your goal is to give up material identity, that you don't exist, right, then it's not so important going against the orders of the spiritual master if that gives you liberation, right? The spiritual master wants to give you liberation, but he doesn't have any really personal interest. The personal interest is on the level of Maya, on the level of material interaction. Now I'm speaking from their philosophy now. I'm explaining this. From their philosophy, if the goal is to to merge and to give up individual existence, right? Then what the spiritual master gives you is like, yeah, okay, if you get liberation, fine. If you go against my teachings and get liberation, fine, you got the goal. There's not a deep importance beyond the modes of material nature, because their conception is that individuality is within the modes of material nature. So if you get free from the modes, then great, Om Brahmasmi, that's fantastic. But when it comes to bhakti yoga, when it comes to Krishna consciousness, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, Krishna has an eternal form, and the Vaishnavas explain that Krishna's form is eternal, it's beyond the modes of nature, right? So that relationship with Guru, that relationship with Guru becomes a part of that eternal reality, right? And Krishna is watching, Krishna is seeing. Krishna is seeing because we're coming from an impersonal existence in the material world. We want to go to the personal existence of the spiritual world. And the spiritual master is the way that we show Krishna that we are ready. We are ready to be a part of that, right? Krishna says, one who says he's my devotee, he's not my devotee. One who says he's the servant of my servant, he's actually my devotee. So the spiritual world, Lord Caitanya said this, Gopi bhatu para kamalayo dasa dasa anudasa. And you see, if you do deity worship, if you go in the back there, the prayers to Buddha Shuddhi, to purify your mind to be able to worship the deity, one of those prayers is this prayer of Lord Caitanya, Dasada, I'm not a Brahman, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. I'm an eternal servant, a tiny infinitesimal spark, eternal servant of the servants of the servants of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when it comes to Bhakti Yoga, it's such an amplified, such a personal amplified issue of following the Guru or not. Because if you can't be chaste to a Guru, if you can't, if you can't just fix your mind and follow a Guru down here, what's the question of it? There's no question of there. If the Guru is in good standing, if the Guru himself is in good standing, has not deviated, then if you can't follow along within that, then that shows, then that's, or let me frame it in the positive way, following along, following the orders, following the instructions of a Guru who is properly situated is how we show our love for Krishna, our chastity for Krishna in the spiritual world. We see when we read the pastimes, there's different groups of cowherd boys and cowherd girls and Mother Yashoda and they're all, and the whole thing goes on because people are very, very chaste to their own authority. If we read Prema Bhakti Chandrika, which we sing every morning, the first 4 or 5 slokas in the Guru prayers, that same book by Narottam Das Thakur, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, further on in that he says, on the indication of the Sakhis, I will offer that tambula to Radha and Krishna, right? He doesn't say there, when I feel like it, when I get the inspiration, when everybody's looking. He doesn't say that. On the indication of the Sakhis, he says, right? He's saying that. So this when it comes to Bhakti Yoga, this following of the Guru, the chastity to the Guru becomes personal. Becomes personal, right? Just like you hear, he did that, but then he did that. He did something to my brother or my sister or something. Then it became personal, right? We hear that become personal. So in Bhakti Yoga, the Guru is personal because Krishna is a person. He's seeing how we act with his people, with his servant, with his representative. So the following of the Guru is a matter of love. It's not a matter of what you call subjugation. It's not a matter of materially he's the what you call dictator. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of love. It becomes a matter of love. So these are a couple of points about this that I think we can see from this pastime. And maybe another small point is when Prabhupada says any opinion different from the opinion of the spiritual master is useless. We have to also have some intelligence in how to apply this. Our spiritual master has told us, Srila Prabhupada has told us, actually that same book, Prem Bhakti Chandrika, Narottam Das Thakur said same thing. Guru Sada Shastra Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya, that the Guru might say something that's not to do with spiritual life. He might say something in a particular time and place, circumstance. He may say something in a particular context to a particular person. And then if we take that statement and say, see, my spiritual said, this is my spiritual master's opinion, any opinion different from my spiritual master, concocted and useless, speculation, blah, then that's a misapplication also, right? Right? If the spiritual master has said something in a particular time, place, circumstance, to a particular person, we have to see, okay, first of all, did he say something different to other people about the same issue? What did he write in his books about this issue? What did he show in his example? What did his predecessors show by their example? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Prabhupada explains the Shastra we know, with the Guru we know, but Prabhupada explains sadhus are like Rupa Goswami. Sadhus are not, in one sense, it's sadhu, we take shelter of all the sadhus. But when it says Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, the sadhu means like previous acharyas, leaders like Rupa Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and so forth. So we have to see that, and we can't go around, bashing people over the head with this is my spiritual master said that, because that may be relevant in a particular time, in a particular circumstance, and but that takes some intelligence. We have to really think about it, and of course we have to go by the principle that this is self-realization, not the other guy realization. We have to really see that we ourselves really have the proper understanding. We ourselves are really situated in, what it means to be a devotee. We've contemplated that. We've got really thinking about that, and not really focused on finding faults in others, right? Yeah. And also that there was another point, I've lost it. I was going to go say it as well. That's all right. But basically that point that, if the spiritual master says something at a certain time, certain place, we have to, that's right, I was going to tell pastime. So Shrita Kirtipuru, as many of you know, he was Prabhupada's servant for 2+ years, longest serving servant, travelled all around the world. And he was just been with Prabhupada for 10 days. And 10 days, and Prabhupada went somewhere, I don't remember where, it's not important, but Prabhupada was saying that his own godbrothers were criticizing him for engaging women in devotional service. And Prabhupada said, the thing is that I could see when I went to America, that in America, men and women mix very freely. They work together, they just go here, sit on the bus together and everything, like whatever. It's just how the culture is. In India, especially, up to the 60s or 70s, there was much more separation, social separation between men and women. And Prabhupada's godbrothers criticized him on him engaging men and women together. Of course, they would have separate ashrams and all of that. But in terms of being able to go out on Sankirtan even sometimes, or go and chanting together, do service together, it was something that just was accepted in the culture. And if he'd have tried to artificially impose a cultural difference, then it wouldn't have been successful. So he said, because I made that adjustment, I was successful. And he kind of joked that he said, if you go to all the Gaudiya mats, he said, what do you see? Who's there? Widows. Full of women, Prabhupada said. He made the joke. So anyway, there's so many women in the Gaudiya mat. What does it matter? But the important point here is that he said, Sruta Kirtipur said to Srila Prabhupada, how do we know when we can adjust a principle, when we can adjust a detail, or when something is a principle? How do we know? And Prabhupada said, that takes some intelligence. Right? That takes some intelligence. You have to really understand the philosophy and think about it. And that's something for us all to consider in our life. It's probably one of the biggest things as devotees to consider. Is this something we can adjust for a certain time, or is it something that, no, this is a principle? And some of the biggest sort of things that are, arguments or whatever within our movement, even on higher levels, are pretty much about this point. Is this somebody says, this is a principle, can't be changed, and someone else says, that's a detail. The real thing is pushing on the movement, preaching, getting people to chant Hare Krishna. So that's something that we have to see. I'll leave 10 minutes for class. Anyone want to come to class? 10 minutes? I spent most of my time this morning just trying to figure out if we were going to come and just getting the kids here, so I haven't. But I hope some of what I said resonates and gives a further sort of basis or provokes some thought for us all to think about these things and how we apply these, and how more than anything, how we can find everything in Krishna consciousness. Social structure, emotional, social health, family health, everything is described, especially in Chaitanya Caritamrita. It's all here. We don't have to go. Not that we can't go. We can take professional help for counselling or something. That's okay. But everything is at the basis. Everything is given here, and we can take some other help to apply it if we need. That's fine. That's all right. We take a doctor or something, or some other help. But everything is here But we have to enter into it. We have to meditate on it and how it applies to us, and therefore we have to read Chaitanya Caritamrita or hear, and we'll get a lot of benefit. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Appreciate that. And is there any question or comments from anyone? No? Okay. Jai Shri Chaitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.